Hello, welcome to Thought Ray. Today we have special guest, Ben Shapiro, and we're playing Evil Baby Orphanage. Hey, cutie. Oh, good. And talking about how we construct reality. Ben Shapiro, thanks for coming down. Yeah, okay, I know you're still confused while we're playing this game, but are you confused with this card? That's right, that's Baby Hitler. Are you gonna drink my water? Do you mind if my cat drinks on the table? Can I come in? No, I can't come into work. I've Ben Shapiro. So you've been getting a lot of flack on the internet from talking about how you wouldn't kill Baby Hitler. And the truth is that that is actually a very old thought experiment. I don't know if they came up with it, but it was popularized in the early vlogging days of YouTube. You know, by the Vlog Brothers.
Intense discussion in the comment section of Brotherhood2.com. The specific question at hand, whether or not the Nerdfighter should build a time machine and go back in time and kill baby Hitler. We need to go back in time and kill baby Hitler. But then along came commenter Brooke, who suggested the Evil Baby Orphanage. Oh my god.
They were asked if they would kill baby Hitler, and they thought about this question a lot. And of course, it's a thought experiment. A thought experiment is a very hypothetical question where the answer is not right or wrong, but is used to tell something about the person. So the question of would you kill baby Hitler doesn't have a right or wrong answer, despite people on the left and liberals making fun of you for giving an answer that was wrong, apparently. There are a lot of reasons to not kill baby Hitler, such as the rise of the power of the Nazis did not have everything to do with Hitler existing, but had a lot to do with economic situations, other leaders in power in the Nazi party, weaknesses, and it is possible that if Hitler isn't the leader, then that can actually make a lot worse consequences. Because messing around with time is weird. But then there are also like personal morality questions, such as you are very keen to not kill babies because you're a very pro-life person. But there are also people that reason that it's not just a pro-life question, but it's an ethics question. Babies don't do anything wrong. Babies are just babies and exist and can't help what they do as an adult and have not yet made future crimes. So there's actually a lot more to this question than a lot of people might give it credit. It's not just a will you kill Hitler thing. But the wishy-washy answer you gave about wanting to get Hitler out of that situation into a nurturing environment is what this game is all about. Evil Baby Orphanage. This is a game designed by nerdfighters and old vlog fans. They went throughout history and they got all kinds of evil babies. Like you have John Wilkes Booth, Bonnie and Clyde, Hitler, Richard Nixon. There are also cute time machines. Like that one's a cardboard box. I think there's also a TARDIS somewhere in here. We have Joseph Stalin and Fidel Castro. The goal of the game is to have like more than 7 or 10 points or whatever in your orphanage. But it gets really hard with more than one people because everyone's trying to use their rules in order to make sure no one else wins. So if you start the game with 10 points, then you win. But it's a very methodical, rule-breaking, left-to-right baby effects and then trying not to have baby effects happen kind of game. Oh, what? Yeah, if it's just a thought experiment and there's no wrong answer, why did so many people make fun of you and drag you for it? Well, that all depends on how we construct reality. Think about it with the movie Serenity. Serenity of 2019 was a movie that was trying to figure out if it is ethical to murder an abusive husband. The people that struggle with this question are Baker Dill, played by Matthew McConaughey, who is a fisherman, but also used to be a soldier, but now is living a different life, and his son, who's a gamer and programmed the game. And the twist in the movie is that Baker Dill is a video game character, and the game is his life. His life is the game. The video game world of this fishing village is the internal struggle of the son. You can break down most video games into a set of rules, a system where you determine things that you can do, activities, and things that you can't do. So on one hand, it's a pretty nice world. Like, no one can get hurt, everyone has to obey traffic laws, there's fishing to do, and there's a weird amount of sex, I guess, because it's made by a teenage boy. On the other hand, it is weird that he sexualizes his father and mother so much, and Not to kink shame, but I don't think this is a real kink. Stepdad has mom stand in front of him and he examines her for blemishes, like in The Mummy. Is this a kink? Do people do this? What's that? You've gone a really long time without interrupting me? You don't usually let other people talk this long. That's funny. Strictly speaking, the reality of the movie is the game. We get hints of the real world, the world outside the game, but they're pretty vague and pretty bleak. And there is every reason given in the game why Matthew McConaughey's character should help kill his ex-wife's husband. He has that weird kink thing, he's mean, he's abusive, he doesn't understand the kid. And then Baker Dill even realizes he's in a video game, and instead of like rebelling, he just kind of examines how he's in a video game and is like, yeah, okay, let's kill your stepdad. Let's kill your stepdad. As Baker Dill is trying to accomplish this goal of murdering his son's stepfather, there's a thing that happens. The game tries to stop him in a lot of ways. It tries to give him stuff to catch the big fish, which is his main systematic goal. It bribes him. The system bribes him, the system gets in his way, the system gives him excuses not to go, and he fights it for a while. Until he has a talk with the literal incarnation of the rules, and tells the rules that the person in charge that made the system wants to kill this guy. So the system changes accordingly. All of a sudden, the disabled ship is not disabled, the man's able to go, and they let him sleep with the fishes. And Foldable Ideas talked about this movie is actually part of the reason why I saw the movie, and he was confused about why we would keep our focus in the game instead of switching to the real world at some point, now that we know that the game isn't real. And I think the thematic and the reality shifting goals of it is the reality of the movie is the game. You've put so much stock into this system, into knowing what happens here, is that as far as the movie's concerned, what happens in the game is kind of real, and the realist part of it. In the movie, the only person who has constructed reality is the son. Holy cow, this movie has a 21% on Rotten Tomatoes? What? It wasn't that bad. Jeez, guys. Oh, they don't give him a name. Oh, jeez. Now, this video game, this system is similar to how do we construct reality in real life. Yeah, reality is something we construct. Sure, there's a set of things that happen, but those set of things are objective. They just happen, and there's no way that our damaged perception can really mind them all, because there's a lot bigger picture than what we are able to perceive. And also the things that we perceive can be wrong or shifted, and always in our own personal favor. So when we construct reality, it does not have anything to do with what objectively happens in the world. Because objectively, things are not good or bad. That includes death, abortion, accidents, global disasters. Objectively, things just happen and things stop moving. If we want to give qualities to those objectives, that is what our realities are made of. If you'll remember back in 2015, several thought leaders were trying to push the idea that liberals are the real racist, or people that talk about racism somehow make racism exist. Now this thought is like internally consistent, but in order to stay internally consistent, people have to not observe racism. So Black people didn't fall for this. This was specifically for privileged people that didn't have to deal and don't have to deal and maybe have never dealt with racism, and also was abandoned when we had an openly racist candidate run for president, which you said it yourself. You talked about how Steve King admitted he was a racist when you talked about how he was a white nationalist. But, you know, as I mentioned in another video, what you missed is the white genocide and all of his beliefs that he held up until the point where he said that why isn't white nationalists okay were also racist thoughts that you believe. What am I saying about that? Well, now it takes time for the son to code in the rules, to say what sand is like, to say what boats are like, to say what people want. There is a real reality outside of the game, but the only one putting in labor to determine reality is the son. This is another case of stepdads being maligned. I'm going to say that if the stepdad helped program this game, it would turn out a little bit differently. Sorry, stepdads.
But my
Stepdad's not me, he's just adjusting. Our perception of reality is constructed similar to the video game. Do you see what I'm getting at here? Determining reality is work. It is labor. The son labored to make this reality, but it was off shift because he's the only one who did it. So according to the movie and the video game, the truth, the fact, is that the dad is abusive. Fact is that his mother is unhappy.
You were right about him.
He's violent with you.
The son would be better off with his real father. And that is part of the problem with our reality. The facts are seen as reality, instead of something that should be scrutinized, instead of something that we should work together to determine. Like Peter Coffin says, if truth and facts were not viewed as a given, but rather as constructs that are built and need maintenance, or they break down, we might take these labors from those with power, rather than just say people are bad for not listening to smart people. So who are these smart people? They're thought leaders. Thought leaders are people that construct reality for us. The son is a thought leader. Ben Shapiro is a thought leader. Jordan Peterson is a thought leader. And people take their word for what truths are given. Truths that are harmful and were proven wrong. Like how many genders there are. ContraPoints made a video all about how we use gender. So I was once a lot like you, Ben. No, I wasn't paid by billionaires and actively becoming a millionaire and running my own site. I mean, we're similar to the same age. I'm 31. I was in high school about the time that you were. And this shirt actually is from the college that I went to. I went to Faith Baptist Bible College because I was very conservative. In fact, I was so conservative, there's an essay back on my Zanga about blaming the victims of Katrina for getting hit by a hurricane. And it's led me to some weird perspectives as I've shifted and changed. For example, when Obama was voted into president and first became president of the United States, I was very against him because I was conservative. And I listened to these thought leaders that would criticize him for using all the executive orders. And it has put me in a unique position that now that Trump is doing the same thing or did the same thing, people tried to criticize me because I didn't say that about Obama. And I got to see that those people are just, liars, repeating things that thought leaders said. Thought leaders criticize people in the news for criticizing Trump and not criticizing Obama. My friend that was talking to me was just regurgitating that point because I had criticized both. I was a conservative when Obama was voted into the White House, so I criticized his use. And ever since then, I've taken the feeling whenever I hear from these certain people that listen to these certain thought leaders, whenever they bring up an argument and it doesn't match anything that I've said or kind of not what I'm talking about and doesn't match my own point, I don't believe them because they're probably lying because they're just repeating you. Idiots like you! And I haven't purged my Facebook friend list exactly yet because I don't know exactly who is a supporter of the alt-right and idiots like you, but you helped me realize something that they do. Similar to your old words, I'm not, exactly. But you've said, the only reason to be friends with someone on the left is to humiliate them in public. And they do that. And they do that with great fervor and acting like they're so big and tall. And they don't actually respond to the things I say. I'm not actually humiliated. I'm just annoyed that somebody is doing the lazy thing of just believing a thought leader. Like you. Yes, you are going a long time without talking. So in Serenity... Patrick? The son's name is Patrick! I knew that. So in Serenity, Patrick made a world where everything he did was justified, according to his own rules. And the world morphed in order to make his truth a reality. Now the thing is, not a lot of people understand video games or how they work or programming because it's a lot of rules. And rules are boring. And systems are boring. Which is why Evil Baby Orphanage is kind of a terrible game. People hate dealing with systems and rules. They just want to follow along. 'Cause it's work. It's work to go through and maintain these kind of things where what is just, what is updated copyright, how should we dole out who gets a house. We live in a giant complex computer game. A system that hires people, doles out jobs, allocates resources, makes buildings, and determines reality. And the problem with letting the system continue as it is because it is causing real and present harm. And the further problem to recognizing that is the system isn't made to recognize a lot of that harm. And those people that are harmed are not the ones in power that made the system. So the system isn't made to recognize their pain. The system, like the game in Serenity, is made to recognize the needs of the powerful. In the movie, the game responds to the needs and the wants of Patrick, the son. In reality, capitalism responds and fulfills the needs of the richest people in capitalism. And it rewards them with more money, more resources, power, and those people having all their needs taken care of and then only wanting to continue to play their game in their system leave a lot of people behind that can barely get food that they need. And that leaves a further problem with fixing it, because fixing it takes work. But also, money is kind of labor. Money is an abstraction of the labor that has happened in the past, and that has gone to the billionaires. And they can do stuff with money that someone else can do without money, such as, get the message out there, hire someone to do a turning point thing, such as, run for president. I haven't heard of half the people that have ran for president, except for Schultz, who is a billionaire. And he did not have to work as hard as, what's a name, Cory Booker? As Cory Booker had to work in order to get it, because Schultz is a billionaire. And Schultz has zero positions other than, please don't tax me, because my money is my power. My money is the labor of the past. So how do we labor to make a better reality? Well, I have a short anecdote for that. So I was in a live stream the other day, and the streamer made a reference. And the reference was, we can rebuild him bigger, stronger, faster. We have the resources.
We have the technology. We have the capability to make the world's first bionic man better than he was before. Better, stronger, faster.
And they're like, oh man, what's that a reference to? And I'm like, The $6 Million Man, which is an old television show about a man who was rebuilt by the government and then wanders around helping people. People in the chat said it was from SpongeBob. I was like, SpongeBob? That's wrong. And the streamer's like, yeah, SpongeBob, you got it. No. SpongeBob made a reference to another thing. And actually, The Simpsons made that same reference. And Family Guy.
I don't want to spend a lot of money.
And they all did that before SpongeBob. But the problem is that there is one person with the power. And also that who made that reference wasn't the point of the stream. But that's how it takes work. It would take work for me to go to every single one of those people and say, no, it's from the $6 Million Man. It's from the $6 Million Man. Now, what's the problem with this? Well, the problem is there's a lot of people going on about how Ben Shapiro wouldn't kill baby Hitler instead of the actual terrible things Ben Shapiro says. And there are several very good points to say why we should demonetize Ben Shapiro and kick him out of this platform, but they kind of ignore how Ben Shapiro has his own platform. Turning Point USA is a foundation run by Ben Shapiro who puts out a lot of bad and terrible news specifically to help billionaires, and it's funded by billionaires. And there's no way we could stop that by just kicking him off of YouTube. So maybe it's a little bit of a wasted effort to go after Benny Shapiro. And maybe whether or not he would kill baby Hitler isn't a fantastic point to go across. But it takes work to get past these kind of, this urge to bury people. Because what we want to do is we want to radicalize them. We want to make them workable, or work past them and get the people that are workable. For example, Ben Shapiro doesn't believe in abortion, and that's a lot of what generated his answer. And that isn't a bad thing in itself. People are allowed to not want to abort babies. Our trouble is the militancy of this idea and how it's gone out. How many people think that no one should kill babies and it's murder, where it kind of isn't. And how enforcing that on someone else is taking agency away from a woman. We need to labor in order to contextualize things in a way that people understand. For example, what I would say to Ben Shapiro, it's okay not to want to get an abortion, but there are steps to help people decide whether or not it's right for them. I say what should qualify someone for an abortion is having a thorough knowledge of medicine and not wanting to do it. So for example, a woman is herself for her entire life. So she is very invested in what's best for her, and I would say she is an expert on what is best for her. Now there are flaws, certainly, depending on how old they are, but for the most part, I wouldn't say any woman doesn't know what they want or what they need. And doctors study medicine for at least a decade, and then they have lots of personal experience. So I think that's what you need to get an abortion. You have to be a woman that has a baby and doesn't want a baby, and have a medical professional agree with you. That seems like all of the hassle that there should be. Now, I could see a conservative taking umbrage with this point and saying, well, now there's abortion clinics that just make it easier so they don't have to go to their doctor. And I'd say, yes, there are. Because there were rules that said that we couldn't put abortion in the hospital. We couldn't do that surgery in the hospital anymore because a lot of people made a bunch of rules about it. We should bring surgery back to the hospital and let the doctors and patients decide if they need an abortion. If you wouldn't personally get an abortion, then that makes it easier. Lots of girls don't want an abortion, and they don't get one, and that's great. Some people don't want an abortion and want a baby, and they don't get one, and that's sad. But then some people don't want a baby and then get one, and that is equally as sad as losing a child before they are born. It is equally stressful on the mother and would-be mother. We should bring abortion back to the hospital, and we are able to do that if we listen to all sides and not just a couple thought leaders and a couple of snappy arguments like, what does the child say? The child doesn't exist yet. The mother has a say, the doctor has a say. And you took the doctor's say away. You feel me? Not you personally, the people that believed in those thought leaders. Because abortion is not a religious issue. It wasn't until like the 1980s or whatever thing we did that. The original abortion ban happened in the 1800s, and it was to stop Irish people from outbreeding us and replacing us. Another great white replacement, another white genocide. So it was racist and wrong. As racist as wrong as everyone else that talks about white genocide now. Oh, you're asking me this question again? Why are people blaming you when there's no right or wrong answer to a thought experiment? Well, it has a lot to do with how we've constructed reality and how there are thought leaders on the left as well. A big difference between 2008 when this question was popular and today is there are Nazis now. So ever since Charlottesville, there have been openly white nationalist, neo-Nazis groups that I just call Nazis for short, that kind of exist. So talking about Hitler was non sequitur back in 2008, but now there are actually Nazis. That's a lot more problematic. What do we do with little baby Hitler? And those thought leaders didn't ask me. What, you didn't see Serenity? No one saw Serenity? This whole video would be a lot more topical if it was a few weeks earlier. I'm sorry, the realities of my job got in the way. And that's what happens when we listen to thought leaders. So we need to work together to get rid of these hierarchies that jerk us all around, that tell us that not killing baby Hitler is a mistake, that tell us that abortion should be banned. We're all being used for an end. And the biggest thing is the people that want to ban abortion and that banned abortion didn't care. They only used it as a stump, as a way to get power in order to help rich people in the system, because they're Republicans. It's a Republican thing. Republicans did it so they can give billionaires tax rights, so that billionaires can get more money. And conservatives are being used, and conservatives are welcome to come to the party that actually supports the poor and actually wants America to succeed. And we need to work to not have thought leaders, to have everyone leaders, to have everyone's thoughts in there and construct reality and truth as a thing that needs to be constantly remade and reinforced and refreshed so we can understand what things are and how things are happening in the world. And yes, it is labor. And yes, right now, while people have 9-to-5 jobs that tire them out, bad support for their children, right now that will be a lot of extra labor on a lot of people that will tire them out, but it is necessary in order to destroy this hierarchy of thought that is not helpful to us and that is actively making life worse for people. What's that, Ben? You'd really like people to like this video and leave a comment and then subscribe to my channel and hit the bell and maybe give me money? Yeah, it is really nice getting money. You get a lot of money, right? You can drink my water. I'll just try not to drink it. Well, thank you. You can drink my water. I'll just try not to drink it. Well, thank you. It's a card game. We're playing. Oh, you're looking for your water? Yeah, it usually goes there, but that's where Ben Shapiro's...